Hello and welcome to this edition of techAU. My name is Jason Cartwright. This is episode 53 and it's the first one for 2011. There's been a lot going on this year and I'll run you through that in a moment, but for those people who are joining us for the very first time, this show is all about covering the latest technology news from not only Australia but from around the world. We get into reviews and I want to integrate your feedback more than ever, so I'll be asking for that at the end of the show, so stay tuned. Basically, this year kicked off with a trip to the US for techAU. Was invited over there by Ford, and we went to the North American International Auto Show for their big announcement of their electric car, the Ford Focus 2012. Fantastic trip. I loved the hell out of it. It was an amazing experience. One of the biggest car shows in the world, and I just had such a great time there. It was fantastic. If you follow me online, you already know this, but I am a huge fan of electric vehicles, and there was a lot of that at the show. So it was a good chance to see that in person. And what else has been going on? So I had the Top Geek competition as well. IINet, an Australian ISP, ran a competition, which I happened to get fourth in. So fourth out of everybody in Australia who applied. So pretty happy with that. Would have obviously loved to have won. But look, I met some amazing people along the way. It helped get the techAU brand out there, which we always like. And I've also ended up with a radio gig each Wednesday morning on the river as a result of that. So, yeah, there's been some good offshoots from Top Geek. And, of course, I'll run it again next year. So if any of you are interested, then stay tuned on that one. Who knows where I'll be in 12 months. Maybe I'll throw the hat in the ring again. But congratulations to Cassandra from Tasmania. She took it out. Huge comic book fan, and just knew her stuff, and big congrats. So she's off to the States next year to the comic book convention, Comic-Con. Good stuff. And for the rest of the top 20, I met a lot of them over in Perth. They're fantastic guys, really. Just people who are passionate about what they do, and that's just, it's not every day you get to hang out with people like that, and it was a fantastic experience. We're all, still chatting in a Facebook group for the top 20 of the Top Geeks, so it's good community. I like these guys. So props to them, and g'day. And what else? Well, I started a business as well. So along with techAU, I'm now running Constructive, and I'll do a detailed piece on Constructive later in the show. So look out for that. I don't want to delve straight into that. We'll cover the tech stories first, and then I'll talk about that towards the end of the show. So, other great news is that we have a sponsor for this episode. So, a big thank you to Regadget for sponsoring techAU. There's the banner on the website. So, if you go to techau.tv now, you'll see in the top right-hand corner, the Regadget banner, and you can just click on that and go to their site. Regadget is a service that allows you to sell your old gadgets for money. So you go on there and you identify, you might have an old Nintendo 64 sitting in the garage that you're never going to plug in and use again. It's got those crappy old SD graphics. We're all rocking these new HD TVs, so you're never going to use it again. But you might want to get some cash for it. Who doesn't like money? So go on to regadget.com.au and plug in what you've got. It could be a mobile phone, it could be a laptop, could be a gaming console, any old electronic gadget. And what you'll end up with is a price estimate. So you tell it what sort of condition the gadget's in, if you've got additional, you've still got the original box or cables and, extra games and things you've bought. And it'll give you an estimate of what they think it's worth. And if you continue on and you decide to go through with it, then you don't pay for postage. They'll just send you the box, you put your gadget in, send it back to them, and then you get your money. So fantastic service, and I know certainly personally I've been looking around for different items that I have laying around, and I'll be using the service myself. There's probably plenty, as somebody who loves technology and is always trying to get the latest and greatest, what that ends up meaning is that you've got a lot of stuff that you don't use anymore. So a service like this is fantastic to get some cash back. take the Samsung Galaxy S2, which is about to come out, for example. If you're the owner of a Galaxy S1 and you want to sell that, then Regadget will offer you $270 for that. It depends on your condition of it, of course. But that's a good example of, you might be upgrading your phone and you want to get some cash. So you might have your circle of friends that you usually offload devices to, and sometimes you can't get rid of everything. So this is a great service that will take care of that for you. Just head over to regadget.com.au and check it out. The next story is the new iMacs were released this week from Apple. Obviously, the typical store goes down for a while, and Twitter goes nuts, Facebook goes crazy, and anyway, the new Macs arrived when the store came back up. They're rocking new CPUs and GPUs, so you're going to get better performance, both compute-wise with the CPU and also graphically. So if you are, maybe playing some games or doing some intensive video work, graphics are certainly going to be improved. They're saying up to 3x times what the previous model was. Naturally, any new Apple product that's coming out now that's being refreshed is going to have Thunderbolt, and these do as well. The 21.5-inch model of the iMac has one Thunderbolt port, whereas the 27-inch model has two. So that means you could actually connect external displays, two external displays, maybe even 30-inch. So triple monitor setup with a Mac by using the two Thunderbolt ports. So that's pretty neat. Something that I was a little shocked at is that they didn't get USB 3. So even in the last MacBook Pro upgrade, they're still rocking USB 2. So it seems that Apple are, I guess, holding off or ignoring the USB 3 trend, because certainly every other manufacturer is starting to include USB 3 ports on the motherboards of their PCs or laptops. It is all the rage from all the other manufacturers, but Apple seems reluctant to put it in. They're probably just trying to force people down the Thunderbolt path. Even though it's a great technology, there's just not a lot of peripherals out there that support it yet. So that's the new iMacs. Go and check them out. There's still, same as always, a price differential between the US and the Australian, despite our dollar being, at one stage up to $1.10 versus a dollar of the US. So that would even take into account for the GST difference between us. And Apple by no means is the only computer vendor that's guilty of that. Basically what it means is that, if you thought it was a direct correlation between what they pay in the US and Australia, it's not. It's basically they've all decided we're going to price it in the Australian market what we think people will pay. And so we, as enthusiasts, get hit with a penalty for that, which is disappointing. So often look around online and you may actually be able to import something cheaper. It sounds crazy, but you may be able to import it from the US cheaper than what you can buy it for here. So a little tip for you. Other big news, next story, is the analog TV switch off for large parts of Victoria happened this week. So not the cities, they're holding off the metro areas around the country until basically until 2013 will be the last switch off. And then analog TV will be completely gone in Australia. And the reason the government's switching it off is they want to free up that valuable 700 megahertz spectrum. It's really good. It goes through walls, large distances, so you can understand why mobile carriers are really enthusiastic to get hold of this spectrum. They want to use it for 4G networks. And so that there's already been, small tests for 4G, but after more and more of the analog gets shut off, that spectrum gets sold off and, used for the mobile network. So expect 4G to be really ramping up over the next couple of years. The options for you if you do have an older television, I don't think many people have, basically high definition sets with integrated tuners, high definition tuners, or just digital tuners in general. You've been in any TV, if you bought one in the last 4 or 5 years, you're going to be fine. There were early flat screens that came out without tuners integrated in, and you had to have an external box. But basically, yeah, if you've got a flat screen, you're going to be fine. If, say, your mum and dad's still rocking a really old set, that 10 or 15-year-old set that's still going and they're still getting their great value out of it, it may be the time to go and buy that new TV now if you've been holding off and waiting for something. This could be the trigger that tips you over the edge to go and get that. Or alternatively, you can go and get a set-top box, a standard definition or high definition, so they come in two varieties. The high def one won't necessarily get you a better picture because it's limited by the I guess the specs of the TV and the display. What a high def set-top box will get you though is the HD only channels. So things like 1HD. If you get an SD set-top box, you'll miss out on that. You'll just get the standard channels. So something to think about there. And there is a price difference between those two. We're talking sub $50 for the SD, sub $100 for the HD. So keep that in mind. It's Mother's Day tomorrow, so maybe you want to say, hey, here's a set-top box, Mum. Happy Mother's Day. I'm sure she'd be over the moon. Anyways, moving on. I have had one of the best review products I've ever had in techAU in the fourth year now of techAU. And right now I've got a Sonos music system. So for those people who've never heard of Sonos, let me explain it. It is huge in the US and insanely popular, and I completely understand why. Pretty recent in the Australian market. But basically what you get is it's a speaker that connects to your wireless network, and you can listen to local music. So if you've got a NAS sitting around somewhere, or even off a connected computer, you can stream your audio across to your speaker and place that speaker anywhere in your house that can get access to your wireless network. So you just plug it into a PowerPoint and you're away and racing. You can also get internet streams, which is fantastic. I personally listen to a lot of online streaming radio, so Club 977 Hits is one of my favourite channels. You can also do, because a lot of the radio stations now are doing an online streaming version of their radio station, you can often get local radio channels as well. So for me personally in Albury-Wodonga, Star FM, Triple J, they're all available, and the River as well. My radio station, radio interview on Wednesday mornings and stuff is on there, so you can listen to it that way. Anyway, basically what happens with these speakers is you can just keep adding them to what they call zones around your house. And so you might have one in the bedroom, you might have one in the living room, you might have one in the kitchen, and you can do two different things. You can either have individual content playing on each, so you might have different people in different rooms that want to listen to different things. The second alternative is to have like a party mode. So every device is all playing the same content. So no matter where you walk in your house, you're going to be listening to the same sort of music. So fantastic idea. You do have, or included in the review product that I got, was what they call a zone bridge. So it's a device that the speakers connect to. So you don't have to have a speaker connected to your router. You connect this zone bridge to the router, so it sits next to your router, and then the speakers connect to it. So that means you can put your other speakers out in other rooms rather than having one located wherever your router happens to be positioned, usually in the kitchen, I guess, next to a phone point. So this thing is awesome. There's an iPad app, there's an iPhone app. I wish there was Windows Phone 7 app. I'm not sure about Android, actually. I'd have to check that. But certainly the iOS is covered, and those apps are great. I really prefer using it on the iPad. Just the extra real estate is fantastic. You can hook into things like Last.fm. So when you listen to the content through it, it's like scrobbling songs for you. So telling everybody what you're listening to, which is great. It's also got an alarm and sleep timer built into it. So if you're listening to it as you're going to bed, you set it to sleep in 30 minutes. So when you fall asleep, it's not playing all night. And alternatively, you can wake up to it in the morning. So it's a pretty unique experience to wake up to an internet radio station playing. That is my alarm at the moment. So it's I'm just so in love with this, and probably the only fault I can have is that I haven't worked out a way to add custom stations or streams, if you like. So I really want to listen to Twit Live through this, and I don't know how to do that. So if there is a way, then yeah, I'd love to hear it. If there's not, then I hope Sonos add that pretty quick. Other than that, this is going to be one of the hardest things to give back, to be honest. Usually we get access to these review units for a couple of weeks, try them out and then send them back. I really don't want to send this one back. It is quite expensive. That's I guess another downside of it. You're talking $300-ish for one of these speakers. But hey, it's, it does sound fantastic as well. That's the other thing. Depending on where you place it, usually if you put it somewhere solid, then it's going to basically bounce the sound around off different devices. So in your living room, if you could sit it on a floor somewhere, and it can use the acoustics of the room to get better sound. Anyway, I'm rambling on a little bit, but I do really, really like the Sonos music system. Fantastic, and it's great that they're coming to Australia. And let's move on to the next story. Sony. Yeah, you knew I was going to talk about it. The Sony PSN downtime, it's still offline more than 2 weeks later after the hack was first acknowledged and the PSN went down. So April 21st was the day it went down. They pulled it down. And today, the May 7th today, and it's still down. And Sony has been, well, they were certainly very, very slow initially at letting people know what happened. They're posting more frequently now, which is good to sort of keep consumers informed. But a week ago, they said, we're going to have functionality back up and, at least partial functionality available to users in a week. Well, that week basically expired today, and they had to post a message on their blog again and said that they're not ready. So their own timeline they set for them, they weren't able to meet. They are still testing internally to ensure the security is there and solid, and they have external companies consulting with them and sort of double, triple checking. So don't expect it in the next couple of days. It's likely going to be at least another week before it's back up, which is crazy long for a huge popular service like this to be down. Usually things go down for a matter of hours. This has been weeks now. And I really feel sorry for people who bought Portal 2. That was on launch day of Portal 2. It seemed like a great option to go and buy the PS3 version of Portal 2. You get a Steam license in that included as well. The downside of that is unless you've activated it before the PSN went down, you can't use your Steam version. And there was probably only a really small window of maybe a couple of hours while PSN was up. So you would have to have been really fast and lucky to make that happen. So what that means is you could play single player but not co-op, which is one of the best parts of the game. So really, I bought Portal and played Portal 2 on Steam and played the hell out of it and loved it. There's a review up on techAU if you want to go check that out of Portal 2. Oh, Sony's compensation, or their proposal of compensation to end users for the downtime, is 1 month free of the PSN Plus and perhaps a game, like some sort of small game. But is that really, does that really pay you back for the downtime that you've suffered, or the fact that all your data is now gone? I don't mean gone, but, is let loose and compromised. And the other question I have is, what will happen when they turn it back on? How many people are going to go into PSN and pull out the credit cards? And I don't know that we'll ever actually know that number either. Sony would probably like to keep that number quiet. If there was 77 million users on the system, I suspect that there's going to be quite a few that discontinue using it. Right, now to one of the most exciting stories, personally anyway, and I want to talk about Constructive, my new startup. So, other than techAU, I've never done a startup before, and Constructive is going to be very different than techAU. Constructive was an idea I had at Christmas time. was back home in Cobham with the parents and woke up one night and it was like 2 a.m. or something like that. And I had this idea and I thought, if I go back to sleep, I'm just going to forget it. And I need to get up and write it down. So I did. I just grabbed the closest notebook and just started writing. And a couple of hours later, I had about 7 pages of screen designs and concept ideas about how it would work and function. And basically, to explain it in almost like an elevator pitch, the short story is that I want it to be a site where people can go and submit their product ideas for the next iteration of a product. So if you've got BoxyBox 1 now and you love it and you use it and you have it, but there's a couple of things that you wish it had, I want you to go to Constructive and submit those things. And then what Boxy can do is look at what the community is saying and then take the best of those, maybe the highest rated features or most requested, and then integrate them into the next version of the product. So consumers, especially those people who are spending the time submitting their ideas, get recognition for that. So all the time you're working on Constructive, it's building towards your profile. Now, if you're somebody who's continually coming up with these ideas, I think the businesses will recognize that, and it could be a good strategy for you to get hired by a company. If you're like a product ideas person, that could be really valuable. From the business perspective, it's going to be insanely hard for them to ignore when they have thousands of users saying, if you do this, then we're going to buy your product. We're going to buy the next version of it. I think as a business, that would be really hard to ignore. So while you can do all the market research and that currently goes on, and prediction of numbers and all that sort of jazz from surveys that are usually charged, this would be free for both consumers to contribute and businesses to use. There may be some free, like the whole freemium model. So there may be most of it free, but then more advanced features could be paid. And then if a business wanted to get access to a really enthusiastic audience that have watched the development cycle go, from idea to concept to the business saying, yes, we're going to adapt this idea, and then it might be 6 months down the track when the product actually comes out, but you've got an audience there waiting for that release. If a business wants to sell to those customers, then maybe there's an opportunity for us to take money off, some sort of fee or percentage or something off the table there. So that's the concept. Right now, I'm looking for developers. The site's going to be built on ASP.NET, and I want to build it using Windows Azure, so Microsoft's cloud platform. Scalability, redundancy, all those sort of future-looking things where what I'm seeing at the moment is a service will build, and then they'll crash and find out that they can't handle the traffic and then have to come up with ways to solve that on the fly. And I sort of think, well, if I'm planning on this service to be successful and grow and scale, well, then why not plan for that from the start? So that sort of is why I want to use Azure and or Azure, however you say it. But I do like the Microsoft platform. I am typically a front-end designer developer using the Adobe products, so this is something new for me to learn. And I've been able to do a lot of that learning myself. While I do look for a developer, I'm not just sitting on my hands and waiting for this person to tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, I want to build for you. I want to be proactive, so I'm learning this stuff myself. Learning Visual Studio 2010, ASP.NET, C#, by the way, not VB. And how I've been able to do that, I guess, is lynda.com. I just found this, I'd heard of Lynda before, but I'd never used them. And so I went looking for good training resources as to how I could upskill. And look, to be honest, I watched these videos, they have it set out like a course. You just work your way through it. And it's a really interesting pricing model too, is that you just pay like $30 a month and you get access to all their courses. So it's not like you go and you want to do this course and that's $10 and then this course is $20 and then before you know it, you're up to $100. It's $30 a month and you get access to everything. So as long as you just keep paying your $30, then you're golden. You can just learn. And I actually really truly, honestly love learning. So this process was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. And within a few days, probably a long weekend, I'd learnt the basics of Visual Studio 2010, ASP.NET, C#, and I'm building the site. So I'm, I guess, partway into the development of the site, learning as I go. And what I would like, I think, is, developers who know what they're doing are going to come on board. I'm going to need their expertise. And there's certainly design development decisions that I would love to bounce, ideas off people. So if you have expertise like that, if you really are somebody who you think you want to contribute to the project, go to constructive.co, read all about it, because it's all explained there. Better than what I'm doing right now. It's explained, the whole project and where I want to go with it. There's screen designs there, and there's even a video of walkthrough of how I would expect the site to function. But the other side of it right now is I'm looking at raising money, and that would be to focus on this on a more permanent basis. Right now I'm having to work the 9 to 5 and doing techAU and Constructive outside of that. So to have more time available to focus on these projects would just be fantastic and really shrink the timeline down. So that's probably enough on Constructive. Just go to constructive.co and everything is there. So just check it out. Coming up, this is a bit forward-looking stuff. We've got CeBIT, which is like one of the biggest expos in Australia, if not the biggest. So I'll be there. That's coming up on the 30th and 31st of May. And Remix is the following couple of days. So like the 1st and 2nd of June. And I'll be there as well. So I'm actually attending Remix as Constructive. I didn't know whether to go as techAU or Constructive, but because it is web development stuff, Microsoft Stack, it really suits what I'm trying to do with Constructive. So a lot more learning to go on there as well. So look, if you're at either one of those conferences and you want to catch up, get in touch with me, and I'd love to catch up for a coffee and chat about the ideas. So that's going to be it for this week, and we're going to be doing these each week now. So it's probably going to be the Friday or Saturday when I record, and they'll be out by the end of the weekend. So you can finish up Sunday night and watch techAU. So basically just the feedback section. I want to get you guys to be interacting with the show as well. So if you've got ideas for stories, just send us an email, jason@techau.tv, or you can hit me up on Twitter @techau. And also, I would love to start integrating video questions as well. So if you want to record, ask a question, get me to answer it, just shoot it up to YouTube and send me the link, and I'll put it in the show. That's it. Between now and next week, just head over to techau.tv, and you can check out some great articles from our new writers. So fantastic content coming out from not only me now, but there's about 8 or 9 writers on the site. So it's great to have techAU expanding like this, and great to have sponsorship as well. So that's it for this week, guys. Bye.